My name's Tom, and I live in the St. Louis area, and this is a horror story about something that happened to me that almost fucked up my life forever. When I was 21 years old, I broke up with my first ever serious girlfriend, who I'd been together with for almost 8 months. Needless to say, I was devastated. I fell into a deep depression, and I began abusing painkillers and Xanax really heavily. I began looking for any chick I could find to rebound with. I ended up looking on the personal section on Craigslist, and I found an ad for a girl named Stephanie. I started talking to her, and I arranged for her to come pick me up. On that night we had intercourse, and decided to make it a regular thing. She was an older lady, about 35, and a bigger girl, but she had her own apartment, and enough money to keep me loaded on as much drugs and alcohol as I could stand. To be honest, I kinda used this lady. After a while she grew really attached to me, and started to want a more serious relationship. Eventually, she started dropping hints about wanting to get married. She said she wanted to do this to help me out, so she could get me on her insurance, so I could get help for my drug and alcohol problem, which obviously I refused to consider. One day we got in a big argument, and she told the police that I'd been abusing her, and got a temporary restraining order on me. A week after she did this, she called me crying her eyes out, saying please forgive me, I love you, and all this other bollocks. She said she wanted me to come pick her up, get some dope, some alcohol, get something to eat, and being the addict I am, of course I accepted. From the moment she picked me up, I noticed that she was acting kind of odd. She was usually really talkative, and was always on my arse wanting to talk to me about this and that, but on this day, she was oddly quiet. When we got back to her apartment, after I walked in, she immediately pushed me on the couch and pulled my pants down and began giving me head, and she climbed on top of me and began riding me, and she seemed angry when I didn't come inside her. I'd been getting bad vibes off her the whole night, so after this happened, I immediately asked her for a ride back home, which she quickly agreed to. After I got dropped off at the house, I went inside and sat down with my sister and watched some SpongeBob. A strange turn of events, I'm aware. About 10 minutes later, I was home and got a call on the phone. I picked it up, and to my surprise the lady on the other end said that this is the St. Louis County Police Department and we're going to need you to come outside to talk to you. I ran downstairs and hid my weed and my pills, then walked outside to figure out what the hell was going on. There were about 7 different cops on my porch, and they were all pointing tasers and guns at me. One of them hit me in the back of my legs with a nightstick and put me on the ground. I was handcuffed. The cops then talked to my mum and got permission to go inside of the house. They took a drug dog and began doing a thorough search of my room and the basement area. None of the cops on the scene would tell me what the fuck was going on. Whenever I'd ask a question, they'd just ignore me. The only response they gave me is that I'd have a chance to tell my story to the detective at the station. When I got to the police station, I had a bombshell dropped on me. Apparently this lady had accused me of kidnapping her and abusing her. She told the police that she'd come by my house to return some of my stuff because we'd just broken up, and that I had come out with a knife and held it to her throat and forced my way into her vehicle, took her back to her apartment, and done awful things. Thankfully, I'd remembered that we'd made a couple of stops on the way to her apartment. She had gone inside of a gas station to get a couple of packs of cigarettes with me, so there was no way I could have kidnapped her. The police still swabbed my dick for DNA and also took my clothes for evidence, and I was forced to spend the night in the St. Louis County Jail, wearing nothing but hospital scrubs. I was released the next morning, but my ordeal was far from over. The lady began constantly stalking me. She'd call me every night at odd times from blocked numbers, and either crying into the phone or just begging to talk to me. I also began seeing her vehicle quite a lot in the neighbourhood, even though she lives nowhere close to me. I called the police about this a couple of times, but they didn't really seem to give a shit. I wanted nothing to do with the court system though, because I had a criminal record, and I just wanted to ignore her and hope the problem would go away. After a couple of months, she finally did stop bothering me. However, still to this day, sometimes I get a call at 2 or 3 in the morning from a blocked number, and every new girlfriend I get, she messages them on Facebook and tells them what I apparently done to her. Moral of the story is, be careful who you meet online. Whether you're a guy or a girl, all it takes is one crazy person to completely ruin your life.